Which one's better, camper? She says, I'll take one of each, thank you.
No.
Boy.
Here we go, another comparison. You guys really like the comparisons. I really like doing them because I really think it gets to the nuts and bolts of truth versus myth, or kind of like me, I'm stuck in my ways, right? I truly, deep in my bones, believe in a wet brine. Over the years, I got to know Benny. You guys know him as Kendrick Barbecue, and he has like a billion, but multi-million views on the idea of putting turkey underneath the skin, butter underneath the skin, right? He cuts into it and butter explodes everywhere and people go crazy. I, however, no disrespect to Benny, if he ever sees this, I don't think it's true. Like, I think his method is spot on. I think what you see is not injecting, not faking or anything. But I don't believe that putting butter under the skin creates a juicier bird. I've always felt like protein, once it starts cooking, pressurizes, right? That's why your juices come out when you let stuff rest. Stuff starts to evaporate, expand, not contract. If you think about a chuck roast, let's just be honest. If you boil a chuck roast, no matter if it's in beef stock, consomme, birria sauce, and you start shredding it up, the inside of the chuck roast doesn't taste like what you just cooked it in. The outside might a little bit, but it's that sauce that you dump back in after it's shredded that makes it taste good. Same thing with turkey. So this is the idea. We're going to infuse the butter with traditional herbs because it's that time of year. We're going to stuff it underneath the skin on one of the turkeys. I got them inside. I've already taken the package off and they're drying. And then we're going to cook 2 of them simultaneously and see, does it really matter? Should we be putting butter under the skin to create a more flavorful bird? Herbs of choice, they're traditional, right? We have thyme, sage, and rosemary. The rest of these herbs I'm going to save. Tomorrow, when we smoke these, we're going to create a kind of like a smoked butter infused with these herbs, and that's what we're going to be basting one of the turkeys with. And to that, we're gonna add the Texas rub, the AP rub. So I'm just imagining how much would go underneath how much I would season it. So that's probably 1 breast. That's probably 2 breasts right there. Just a little bit more. Just eyeballing. Stick of butter. Each breast will get roughly about half. And then simply enough, we're just gonna mix it all together and make kind of like a herb compound butter. This also stems back to where last year, Amy made a turkey.
My first ever turkey.
If you guys don't know, Amy's behind the camera.
I'm gonna spatchcock my first turkey. There she is.
Are you sure?
Hey.
She or he?
Oh, is a turkey a male? No. There's female turkeys. Right? We love it on chicken. We love it on steak. We love it on vegetables. This maybe was not my finest moment. I was doing great until this.
You said you see people do it.
Look at that. Okay, so here's a lesson. Lesson learned. No more seasoning.
But, I mean, some people will say, well, now you season the butter, so if you can smear the butter on there, then it's like the idea of seasoning. I do not like doing this method because of exactly what you're experiencing. I've never found...
And the butter doesn't really smear.
I 100% agree.
So why do people do this?
Through her website research, she picked out a recipe that she wanted to do. Now, I know you guys disagreed with it, but that's what I was trying to explain to you, everybody, that's the information that she found, right? She put the butter on the outside of the turkey. I disagreed with her, but I wanted her to experience it in her own eyes and the way that she wanted to do it. Now, I know a ton of people commented
It did not work out.
that you should put butter underneath the skin. I'm like, yes, I agree. If that, it probably does work out better. But that's not what the instructions said. So you got to look at it from like, different points of view. When somebody looks online and they see something and it's like, well, I'm going to try it.
And I have no cooking knowledge
That's
whatsoever.
why we do this. Amen. Amen. Looking really good. That's a good herb burger right there. All right, you're just going to work that little seam right there. Now, what you want to do is not remove the skin from the middle of the breastbone, okay? This will actually work into the thigh a little bit if you pull that skin out. See that finger right there? How it's working in that thigh area and the leg. Okay, and obviously you want to do this. Be careful, you don't want to break the skin. Slide just a little rubber spatula up there. That should help a little bit. Of course, I put a glove on thinking I was going to protect my hands. Really get in there. Just be careful. Obviously you got a little time to go, but don't rush it. So that's about, right, just working with half. I'm gonna do half of it for you, then I'll get the other half knocked out. this. Just kind of work that in, kind of, it'll all melt together and all that shenanigans, but you guys get the idea. And push that as far back as you can, and you can work your way. And then I have about a tablespoon left. I'm just gonna lightly just go over the rest of the turkey with it. It's not really gonna matter. All right, the butter is in, and I'm just gonna do a salt brine. Not a big deal at all. Just Diamond Crystal Kosher salt. Golly, I can't speak. Diamond Crystal Kosher salt. We did this on our last video, wet versus dry, and the salt really helped the outside dry out. So you would wet brine it, but then you got the salt. It's crazy. It's kind of like, well, you wish you could have a little bit of both worlds in there. All right, in the refrigerator it goes, and then when I bring up the other one, let's just skip the other one. The other one is just gonna be salt brine. It is a turkey, no herbs, no nothing. I'm gonna put salt on it, and it's gonna refrigerate overnight. Deal?
Yep.
Deal. It is the next day. This is not a sponsored video. However, I told you I use these quite often. It's the Typher. I've already set up the temperatures. We're looking about 158 internal because the carryover cooking. We're rocking the Lone Star pellet grills today. Looks like we're up at 325 or 350, depending on what it's doing. Thermometers go into the breast. And of course, you know, we can check them with a probe thermometer if we need to and all that stuff. So really quick to recap, you can see this is the one with all the butter, and this is the one that's just naked. All right, so what I have here is 1 stick of butter, the same thing that went in here, and I tried to match the herbs exactly. About a medium sprig of rosemary, 3 sage leaves, and a little bit of thyme. That's gonna go in here. We don't have to cook this butter right away, but this is gonna be the one that we baste the outside of this turkey with. So that's all we're doing. On the smoker it goes. First turkey up. Second turkey up. I'm gonna run 325 the whole time. We're trying out a different method. A lot of times we like to go low and slow, at least for a couple hours. I'm going 325 the whole way. Let's see if we can get a crispier skin. And after all, you know, a lot of people take a lot of time and effort to season, wet brine, dry brine, the skin, and you want to be able to use it and eat it. So getting up at that 325 should be able to render some of that fat out. Roughly about 30 minutes later, I'm gonna put this on here. Let that butter start melting down. Looking good so far. Ooh. All right, that's the one with the butter. And then we're just gonna baste it with all those herbs. And I'll probably come out and do this every, like, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. I really want to taste if the herbs really matter inside the breast. I can already tell that I could have done a better job of getting it down here. But when we slice off the breast, we can obviously tell where the herbs are at. And we should be able to tell whether or not that butter drip down helps. Alrighty. We have a turkey that is done. Number 2 on the list. Which one is that? That's probably expected, especially on the Lone Star. That fire pot is right there on the right side, so I can see that getting a little bit hotter. And just like that, bird number 2 is done. Woo. All right, about 45 minutes later, we're about 148, 45 degrees. That's a good temp to start cutting. So as I mentioned, you can actually see the herbs inside there. The next time I do it, I'm definitely gonna pay a little bit more attention to this little small area right here. And this one, as you can see, I wish I would have got more in there, but it does look like it melted and got in there. So the idea with the breast is you're supposed to be able to cut it and butter goes everywhere.
It smells delicious.
I ain't gonna lie to you about that, considering we didn't brine it, wet brine it at all. Juicy. I'm gonna be 100%, I always am, but I always get ridiculed for blah, blah, blah. I can already tell that even though the butter melted, there's only herbs where the butter was, right? So the idea that you put butter under the skin and the butter melts and then baste the whole breast, doesn't look like that's true. Flavor-wise,
because that's what it all comes down to.
I don't taste the butter. I mean, I do not taste the butter. I taste the herbs. This one has very, very, very little herb in it, right? So I'm gonna try to taste right here.
I mean, it's a very good turkey because it's perfectly cooked.
You can't taste it if the herb's not there.
Yeah, I agree.
The one thing I will say though, if the herb is there, it does taste really good. So
Yep.
I would definitely say, is it worth doing? Yes. If you don't believe in the wet brine and you want to dry brine, I could definitely understand adding some herbs, mix it up with your butter and stuff it under the skin. If that's a cleaner way for it to go. I know a lot of people mention wet brine is just such a hassle. Truly and honestly, I agree. Especially when you're building up for Thanksgiving. You have so many things to prep. You probably only have one refrigerator. Only because of social media and us doing this for like as much beef and turkey and proteins we go through, we had to buy another refrigerator for dry brining and marinations and stuff like that. I understand. It ain't bad. There's other things that are not worth it. This is worth it if you do it properly. I just don't think it's going to beat a wet brine.
Yeah.
The only way to tell though. So to recap this has only been salt brined, and then we basted it with the same roughly amount herbs and 1 stick of butter. Juicy part on that one.
Boy.
Same thing, we're gonna go through the breast. Somebody said on my last video that I was such a bad cook because my turkey fell apart. They're talking probably about this right here, which is literally the tenderloin.
It's supposed to fall apart.
All right, you ready? So the idea is no seasoning, no brine, no nothing. All we did was baste it with herb butter. So you gotta make sure you get the skin.
Okay. Can't tell a difference.
That will beat that all day long. But I don't think that beats wet brine.
The butter under the skin.
Yeah. Cooking at the right temp is probably the most important, regardless of what you do. We've been pulling ours about 158 degrees because we have been cooking at a higher temperature, right? I know a lot of people want to do smoked turkey. However, you got to remember turkey is poultry. And if you don't get it to a high enough temperature for a long enough time, the skin gets rubbery. A lot of people complain about that. But the reality is you shouldn't be cooking your turkeys at 225 or 250 because you'll never be able to render the skin. So whether you start early and finish higher or go high all the way. That's why we did 325 the whole time. It's a little bit on a low end, but it's able to stay on the smoker a little bit longer and is able to render the skin a lot longer. Yeah, this is no different than the salt brine that we did with only. You know, like
Yeah.
I think it added zero flavor value at all.
Yeah.
Wet brine, and then if you're going to salt brine, I would definitely put butter underneath with the herbs, salt on the outside so dry it out, and you should have yourself a top tier turkey. That's why we do the experiments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to press that subscribe button, pound the notification button, share with your friends. Peace. And that bad boy right there
I mean, it's still perfectly cooked.
on one of those hot dinner rolls
So I was gonna say, it'll still make a great turkey sandwich.
with black pepper.
Slather on the mayo.
Cranberry sauce.